Welcome to Story Time. We are on episode 9 of the Intergalactic Audacity of Becky Blueshift. If you've missed any of the previous episodes, feel free to go to YouTube or to my website and you can hear them. If you know anyone who would enjoy this, feel free to share it out. Just shoot it out there. Hopefully you guys are having fun. I'm having a good time. So let's go ahead and continue with the Intergalactic Audacity of Becky Blueshift. Book 1, we are on episode 009, Knights of the Brown Table. You remember that they crash landed on an unnamed planet, and they have since been surrounded by knights with blue skin who are riding giant lizards. Here we go. A dozen other riders followed the first, all of them with lizard mounts as big as mules, scales glinting against the sun in shades of orange, green, and yellow. Each soldier wore pink armor and held a spear tipped with barbed hooks. Between their reptilian rides and the stern looks on their faces, the knights sent a ripple of anxiety down Becky's spine. If the warriors attacked, there would be little Becky, Edison, and Ben could do to repel their assault. The lead knight rode his lizard toward Becky and stopped a meter away. Warm breath spewed from the reptile, smelling of decayed meat. The warrior pointed his spear inches from Becky's face.
"You are intruding on the sacred land of Monarch,"
the man said in a surprisingly high-pitched voice.
"You are under arrest."
They speak English, Becky thought. That means they probably had contact with the Centauri fleet at some point. Good to know. Hopefully that means they're peaceful. "We come in peace," Becky said. She raised her hands to show she carried no weapons. She looked up at Edison and Ben. "We come in peace, right, guys?" "Yeah, peace," Edison agreed. His usual baritone speech had changed, making him sound almost like a chipmunk from an old cartoon. Why does my voice sound like that? "Seriously, Edison, you sound weird," Ben said. His voice heightened as well. He started laughing. "I sound weird too." Last time I had everybody's voice pitched high. I'm not going to do that all the time because it would get really old. So just imagine their voices are high. The pink knight stepped back, but kept the spear pointed at Becky. He pulled an ornate, curved horn from his belt and pressed it to his bluish lips, blowing a piercing blast that made Becky cover her ears. "Ooh, that was loud," she mumbled in her new fairy-like voice. The large group of riders cheered and pulled the reins on their greenish-gray lizards, which stomped their feet in reply. Long tongues slithered from the reptiles' mouths, licking their protruding eyes like geckos on a hot day.
"We have the dangerous intruders,"
the knight yelled boldly, but the sound of his girlish tone made Becky chuckle.
"We are heroes, the bravest in the realm. They will sing songs of this day for centuries." "They don't have blue skin,"
a soldier wearing a helmet with a lizard tail poking out of the top cried.
"They are not of the Azure Bell. They look like those beings who were defeated by Monarch.
The warrior next to him pulled on his lizard's reins and backed away.
"They were the most dangerous visitors since before the Great Calamity, Captain Seabass-chun. I feel fear like I have never felt before." "They're different from us,"
another shouted. The riders scurried back and forth as if ready to bolt if Becky so much as sneezed. "Look, we're not dangerous," Becky assured. "We just crashed down here is all. In fact, you may be able to help us." The spear poked closer to Becky's nose.
"You can't intimidate me, foul villain."
"Okay," Becky said, eyes blinking in a dance between confusion and annoyance. "I'm not trying to intimidate you. First of all, I don't even know how that's possible, since you're like twice my size and riding a giant lizard."
"Don't fear her, Captain Seabass-chun,"
one of the mounted knights shouted.
"You are the bravest." "Do you think I fear you, tiny terror?"
the lead knight asked.
"I am Captain Seabass-chun, lead warrior of the realm. I once fought a Triglador in single combat."
Triglador? Becky asked, trying not to sound condescending. "Trigladors are small," Ben laughed, still seeming to enjoy the sound of his squealy voice. "They're like the size of a dog, only more fluffy. And they don't even have normal teeth. They're like whales." "They're not intimidating or dangerous at all," Edison added. "I once had one as a pet," Ben agreed.
Do you doubt my courage, yellow-haired creature?
Captain Sebastian asked, orange eyes squinting at Ben from behind the slits in his helmet. No, we don't doubt your courage, Becky answered, remaining patient despite the strange situation. She pushed the spear tip away from her face lightly. If you just move this, a gasp rippled through the gathering of knights. Sebastian pulled his lizard back a meter and looked around nervously.
They're going to attack!
One of the riders yelled, voice cracking.
Retreat! No!
Sebastian shouted.
We're all afraid, but we must overcome our fear in the face of such overwhelming odds.
Oh my gosh, Becky cried. What are you talking about? First of all, there are only 3 of us. And second of all, we're not a threat. If you'd listen...
She's terrifying!
A knight screamed.
I'm scared!
Another chorused.
Stand your ground, men!
Sebastian urged, pointing his spear once again at Becky.
Think of Monarch, our great leader. He wouldn't be afraid of a fight with such devious creatures. Monarch!
They chorused. Okay, Becky yelled, again surprising the soldiers as if she'd fired a laser cannon. We are not dangerous. We crash landed and we're just here looking for an element and some fuel. Has your civilization developed interstellar travel by chance? The knights looked at each other as if she'd just asked them to figure out the circumference of a neutron star. I don't think they have, Edison mumbled from his perch on the ramp above. Okay, what about a crystal element? Becky asked. Are there any crystals here that have a strange glow to them?
They are thieves,
one of the soldiers in the back cried.
They wish to steal from Monarch. Bandits! Robbers!
Edison jumped down beside Becky, startling Sebastian enough to knock the blue man from his lizard mount. Armor clanged loudly while the knight rolled around in the dirt for a moment before leaping to his feet. The big lizard seemed unfazed by the skittish man as it flicked its tongue and snatched a bird from a low-hanging branch. Bones crunched softly as the reptile chewed. Oh, I want one of those lizards, Ben said.
We never before!
Captain Sebastian muttered on wobbly legs. His blue fingers clutched the spear so tightly they started to turn purple. We're not here to steal anything, Edison said, hands held up in a peaceful gesture. And I'm sorry if I startled you. Sebastian's mouth opened and closed as if trying to speak, but unable to form words. Edison is right, Becky continued. If you know where we can find samples of the element, we're willing to trade or offer something.
You will take nothing from our lands,
Sebastian blurted.
I will tell you nothing. No matter how you torture me, you will never find what you are looking for.
Becky had enough. These men wouldn't listen to even the simplest explanation. They seemed so afraid of the new arrivals that all their actions were those of terrified children. How were they able to create a functioning civilization being so afraid of anything different? Captain Sebastian, Becky began.
I am Sebastian,
he yelled, hands trembling on the spear. Sebastian. We are peaceful. We have no desire to harm anyone. All we want is to get home. To do that, we need fuel and the element so we can rescue our parents. The faster we do that, the faster we avoid pirates trying to capture us. And
they have pirates with them!
The lizard tail helmet soldier bellowed.
Are you pirate scum?
Sebastian asked. He pointed a spear at Becky's neck. With that, she couldn't take it anymore. The foolishness, the interruptions, all of it was too much. Fast as a lightning bat from the Hydroxy Nebula, Becky grabbed the spear and swung her legs under Captain Sebastian. Again, his armor clinked and banged as the captain hit the dirt in a puff of dust. Several of the gathered knights reared their lizards with a shrieking cry and rode back up the hill in fright. "Oh, that was awesome!" Ben shouted from the ramp. "They're totally running away from a teenage girl." "All right," Becky yelled, trying to sound commanding with her high-pitched voice. She pointed the heavy spear toward Seabass Chun's beard and held it as steady as she could. "You guys are going to listen to me now and stop interrupting. Answer my questions. Do you have fuel, and do you know of any glowing crystals in the area?" Seabass Chun rose to his knees and lifted his head high.
"I will die before I betray my monarch. Do your worst, foul creature."
"Come on." His words seemed to strengthen the remaining knights, who murmured in agreement though their eyes blinked rapidly, as if unsure of their next move. "Oh, just answer the questions," Becky pleaded in a fairy chirp. The entire situation had become far more complicated than she ever wanted. Pointing a spear at an unarmed man wasn't something she enjoyed. Seabass Chun, while trembling slightly, stared her down and remained silent. Now what would she do? Knock the captain out and then scare off his soldiers? That wouldn't get them anywhere. Plus, Nostrellis and his crew would be looking for the crash site at that very moment, putting them and the cowardly knights in even more danger. The spear felt heavy in Becky's hands. It weighed far more than it appeared to at first glance. She lowered the weapon and threw it on the ground. "Who could answer our questions, Captain Seabass Chun?" she asked. "Would this monarch guy be able to help?" Edison added. The captain's lips squeezed together in a confused expression.
"You're not going to destroy me with your incredible strength?"
Becky shrugged. "I'm not that strong. Your spear weighs a ton. All I want is to save my mom and dad and go home." Standing, Seabass Chun looked back at his frightened men.
"You would spare me in order to have your questions answered?" "Don't trust this demon!"
A knight wearing a yellow cape yelled from the back of the group.
"Take them to Monarch!
Another of the mounted cavaliers shouted in piercing soprano.
"Hold!"
Sebastian cried. He turned back to Becky.
"Even though you could destroy me, you choose not to?"
"I was taught only to fight when necessary, and even then, to try and find other options. I don't think fighting right now is going to solve anything." For a moment, Seabass Chun lowered his spear, kindness softening his orange eyes.
"Perhaps we could,"
he began.
"We can take them to be executed by our gracious, handsome, and thoroughly sweet-smelling ruler, Monarch!"
The knight with the lizard tail helmet bellowed. He rode forward as if ready to stand by his leader. A smell like week-old garbage on a summer day wafted over with him. There's no need for an execution," Edison said, coughing slightly on the pungent odor.
"Captain Seabastian,"
the approaching knight continued,
"your bravery will go down in song for generations. Now, let us take these brigands to our supreme leader and king. He will reward you for your actions." "But they,"
Sebastian said.
Monarch!
The men shouted in unison. Becky looked over at Edison. "What should we do?" "You already knocked the guy down," he answered. "I'm not sure if they can be reasoned with at this point."
Monarch!
continued the chorus. "Captain," Becky said, returning her attention to the blue commander. "I'm sorry I tripped you." She stepped forward as she spoke. Seabass Chun jumped in surprise and stumbled back. His spear swung up as he tripped and hit Becky in the right shin. "Ouch!" she yelled, hopping on her left foot and grabbing her leg.
"Captain Sebastian has injured the demon!"
One of the knights cheered.
"The captain is our hero!"
Another cried. Sebastian stood a little taller, as if he felt suddenly empowered by his accidental strike.
"We have nothing to fear!"
yelled the lizard hat knight.
"To our sovereign with them!"
Bowing his head, Sebastian nodded.
"You're right, warrior Gregor. I will be rewarded for my courage."
Yeah, because you accidentally hit me in the leg, Becky spat, replanting her foot on the sandy soil. The spear raised once more and drew closer to her. Seabass-chun grimaced like an actor trying to look fearsome. We don't have to do this, Becky said. We can work together and...
Guard them with your lives, men.
Seabass-chun cut in.
But know there is no fight left in them. I have vanquished our foes in the name of Monarch. Monarch,
The other knights chimed in.
take them away.
Seabass-chun advanced slowly.
May the days be short for all those who trespass in our kingdom. To Monarch, to your deaths.
That went well, Edison whispered. And that is the end of episode 9. Tomorrow we will read episode 10, Monarch, the Great. And I am very excited for you all to meet Monarch. He is wonderful. I enjoy writing him. Well, there we go. That has been chapter or episode 9 of The Intergalactic Audacity of Becky Blueshift, book 1. Feel free to pick it up at stephenhuman.com. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow for episode 10 of Storytime.